All right, so in this video, Subaru 6.0, the SP170 axial or horizontal engine. Now, it's really the same as I mentioned in the last video, so this is really like a part two. It's really the same as the 7.0, and these would have been found on the rigid frame or the sold under the rigid name as well, which is just the manufacturer that really... it's really the manufacturer of the frame that everything bolts to, because you could have a CAD pump. This one had a CAD pump on it. Later on, we're gonna mount the CAD pump. We're also gonna mount an AR pump later on in another video, which is an Italian pump. So the frame is made somewhere by Rigid. This is a Subaru motor. You'll see bigger Subaru motors. You'll see Briggs or whatever. So really, I mean, I do this. So you could just name it the Arch model. So I think you understand the point I'm making. So Subaru 6.0, and this is really kind of a part two. Part one, we went over the carburetor to try to make the videos a little smaller. We went over the carburetor, rebuilt it, and this one we're going to mount it, but we're also going to do the ignition. That's the coil, the module, the igniter. We're going to gap it. I'm going to show you some stuff there. We're going to put everything together, mount the carburetor, mount all the other stuff that's off the machine. That's off the engine. While the engine's off the machine, because sometimes it's just easier to do everything on the bench. Now, a little while back in another video, I did my friend Steve's Rigid with the 7.0 motor, but I didn't take that off the machine. We did it on the machine. And this is mine, and I'm going to be putting it on a different transport, a different carriage, a different frame with different wheels. And again, that'll come a little bit later. So we got some stuff to do there. I'll be doing some testing later on. I wanted to go over with you guys a little bit deeper about putting this together, some of the tips and tricks and techniques that I use to sort of, up the game a little bit. There'll be another video coming out, I think, after this. So it'll be like a part three. It'll just be the valves, going over the valves on this thing. So this is an overhead kind of cam engine. It's not just an overhead valve engine. It's got a timing chain on it. Some things a little bit different. You're also going to find some specs in this video. And then, like I said, we're not going to run it in this video, but we're going to complete the build on it, put it all back together again. Also got to replace the handle and the pull cord, because that's what started this. So I built this motor from many years ago during Hurricane Sandy, and everything was just a mess. I came into this stuff. Somehow I came into two of these at the same time, but one was specifically damaged by water rushing into, I think it was a shed or something, and contaminated the engine and damaged some of it. And somehow or other, I came across another one. So I made one. And again, that was how many years ago? I'll write it in here. I forget now. It's been, 10 years or something like that. She's been running so good. And I haven't really done, I've kind of changed the oil, whatever, but since I broke the pull cord, I figured I'd get out the super clean, tune everything up, get everything going again, get everything clean, go over everything, see if there's anything leaking since I had to split the case on it, put it back together with RTV. We just want to look to see if anything is, leaking, anything got damaged, and then get everything back together again. And boy, I'll tell you, I love these motors. They're just quiet, they're powerful. Let's get started with this. I'm not going to do an outro. So in one of the other episodes, we're gonna mount this to a different base. Like I said, I'm gonna put some different pumps on it. We're gonna put the CAD pump back on. I'm gonna show you some stuff about that, and I'm gonna have some fun with it. And I've been using it all season. So I did this at the beginning of the season, very beginning of the season. This is now mid-September, and I've been using it all year, and I just love it. It's one of a few I have. One of the things I like to do is put a bunch of different frames together, kind of like the way everyone else does, and mix and match stuff and keep this around. I do sell them on occasion, but I enjoy these. These are semi-commercial. These are like high-end homeowner. And these engines were, Subaru, Robin, they were popular, I guess, back in the day. You don't see them as much right now, but back in the day, there were quite a number of these mounted, particularly to pressure washers and pumps. So if you've got one of these, it's pretty much the same as any insert your name here manufacturer that built the frame and threw all this stuff together from essentially off the shelf parts. Let's get started. All right, we want to get the carburetor on. So I just took a peek in here. All this looks good. So that gasket looks good, but I see a little bit of abrasion, or maybe it just didn't stick good, or I pulled a little off, but it's not bad. But what we want to do, this is white grease, so we're going to fill this stuff in some white grease. And that will help it to seal, but it'll also help it to come apart again. And it'll protect it. And because, you know, the lithium, like this, you see the moisture of the oil, the vehicle, but that'll come off. That'll dry out. Which way did I take this? This way. That'll dry out, and we'll be left with is the lithium. Is this the way it goes? Kind of goes under that. It's got to get underneath this plate. Yeah, there it goes. And you'll be left with the lithium, and then that's for the plug. There's a little grommet that goes there. Right. It looks good. And we want to wet this hose down to make it a little easier to insert. So this is the reverse of what I did earlier, which you may not have seen. Just going to pop that in there. Now, this should pop right in. So if you're having a problem, you can try it that way. We're going to put a little bit of... I put some tranny fluid on this earlier, and it sat for a night. Now again, we'll go with a little white grease. Now let's see where this guy wants to pop in. Somewhere here. Not there. And sometimes you can get it. So I was able, it wants more of an angle. That's why I say sometimes it's nice to take off one of these studs. Sometimes you can do it like this, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that on this one. Let's see. You can always pop it back out. It's kind of in because it'll bind on the stud. Yeah, it's binding. It wants to go in easier, but it's binding. If you take the stud out, hold on, drive it a little bit more. That might work. Put a little bit of lubricant on, maybe it'll help. I don't want to damage that little plastic bushing. It needs to be turned. Yeah, see, this stud needs to come out. So let me show you that, actually. So I think people have asked me. So let's take that stud out. So these nuts here, these nuts, we'll turn this guy in. Now it might just come out if I just put my vice grip on that, but another way to do it is you take your nuts, these nuts, just give that a snug. What are they, 10? I need 2 10s. You guys got 2 10s for a 50? Just snug it. And let's see if it pulls out. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you got to put a vice grip. Yeah. Sometimes you got to put a vice grip on it. Because they're in there good. Really should have a little bit of no seize on that. Let's see if this will grab it. Yep. Now let's see if it'll turn out. Yep. I'm going to leave those nuts on. Now, the wrong way. So here, by the way, here's your curb idle adjustment. That's what we used to call it. That's your throttle stop up against here. So that's your ultimate throttle stop. And then this is the mixture adjustment, which there really isn't any because it's got a cap on it. But I don't remember it ever having an issue. We can always come back to that. It doesn't have an issue. When the engines are pretty new and they're in good shape, those stock adjustments are pretty nice. See how easy it goes in? I'm not forcing it. And I just took the one stud. It just went right in. All right, let's just lightly thread that. Now this is the governor spring. So just be mindful of what direction it's coming through. You don't want to wrap it around the throttle shaft. Now we can put the hose on. Which is like literally right next to the adjustment for the mixture. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's still in good shape. I'll just move the location of the clamp slightly to get a bit more clamping force. And we want just a touch of oil on that, so that engages, that's your choke adjustment. So I like to, you can also use a touch of grease. Again, the white grease. It's conical, slightly, so it lays down in there and it shouldn't load up, lock up. All right, that's our choke adjuster. And because of these things are a bit of a pain, I think what we'll do now is, before we put all this on, one last look here, since we're already loaded up. Let's get a 10 thousandths. I like to be between 10 and 12. Make sure we're out of the way of everything. Yeah, she's good. This one feels a little tight, fellas. Hold on, let me get to the magnet. Yeah, that one's a little tight. Let me check. I think it's just because it's dirty. But let me check the adjustment on that. So if we have to, we'll come back. That does feel a little tight. What we could do is clean off the magnet slightly so I know where I am. And I'll check that and we'll be right back. And we'll finish up with this, because we got to put the cover on. All right, 3 to 5 millimeters. So 12 thousandths is what I typically like. I like 12 thousandths on the magnet, and I usually do the coil, but that's been done. This isn't that bad. This way we know we have a good, we can get a good clearance on there. That's why we're doing it. So we're down to metal, and I'll spray that, this whole area with a bit of chain wax this time. That's like my new thing. But this will be fine. We'll get a good gap. 12 thousandths is, like I said, what I like. On lawnmowers, you can go a little tighter on a lot of the Briggs engines and stuff, because it has a brake that rolls over the flywheel. Keeps everything clean. So let's bring it back to here. And we got to kind of check it in the middle. 12 thousandths really doesn't want to go in. It's very close. They want the 12. So now what we'll do is we'll bring it right out of the way. Let's loosen it. Hold on. There we go. Okay, let's snug it. We're going to pull it away. So pull the coil away a little bit. And just snug it. Now we should be able to put our magnet back, slip our 12 in. All right, it's in there good. Yeah, that's good. Now we're going to release it, let it pull in. That's what's nice about the brass gauges. You can make your adjustments. Let it pull in. There it goes. Nice and loose. Make sure it's in there good. And we'll retighten. Yeah, that's good. All right, let me get it over here so I can tighten it. There's a torque spec to this. Let me see if I have the torque spec for it. You want to see? Hold on. snug it up. All right, the easiest one, since my torque wrench does Newton meters, it wants 7 to 9, so I have an 8.69, and then you can go up from there, but that should be good. You know, I can go incrementally up from there, but again, that should be fine. Might want to go err on the slightly higher side just because there's rust and crap. But we'll leave the gauge in for a minute. And let's see. Yeah, I'm right there. Just from tightening it by hand. All right, hold on. Let's get our gauge out before we forget. Now we can take our chain wax, and I'm going to put on the coil. Excess will burn off. We'll get it on. We'll get it on the whole thing. You know, all the steel that's here, because it rots. Again, it's wet operation. There we go. That's enough. You know, and the excess will burn off. And while we're here, you can also use, by the way, in here you can use a bit of, maybe we'll put some of our special stuff in there. I have some Dow Corning silicone dielectric. And here we'll clean off the plug wire a little bit with our special soy sauce, tranny gas, because it's good for rubber and seals. So now let's get this guy on. Here's our wood. We'll set up to put on this cover, which I've already cleaned up. I cleaned it and I sprayed some paint in last night. It's already been gone over. We can take a little bit of this stuff, a soy sauce, put it in the switch. Okay. Get it into the switch area. We'll keep the contact good. So like I said before, we put the cover stuff on here and all the filter assembly. On the Briggs, you know, it's even harder to do. This one's easier. So it'll give us a chance to sort of slip this in, watch that spring, make sure we're in the right spot, make sure that that grommet is where we want it. The grommet is where we want it. I'm going to make sure that this is where we want it. We don't want to force it. That seems about right. Now, which ones are we using? The shortest ones are for our pull start. But they're pretty much the same. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the pull. Put a little bit of my soy sauce on them as an assembly lube. You can also use white grease. All right, we got our wire over here, which is in our way. Pull that wire through. That's the switch wire. This will fall where we need it when we tighten the carburetor. That's not in the way. So that's part of the, you tighten that too early, you're going to wind up breaking that phenolic if you get it in the way of the cover. How does this feel? Does it feel like it? Yep, it's down. I have to start some of them by hand just to make sure we're all right. Not going to snug anything yet, just want to make sure everything's going on. Right, now we can start snugging stuff up. I don't use power tools on this stuff, right, when you're setting everything up. Usually you take it apart, but I want to know what's going on. I want to feel it. especially when they're unknown and I really want to rebuild something or repair it properly. I'm not just pulling parts off of machines. Because sometimes I just pull parts off and everything is so questionable that I don't care. But when I'm really trying to refurb, restore, all right, we're looking good in here. That grommet's still in where we want it. Make sure the motor turns free, no noise. Let's listen. That sounds good. So we look good here. Put a little bit of soy on that so it slides in easy. Let's turn this in the rest of the way, make sure we're good. Yep. Get our nuts back. We already have some white grease on the threads. Make sure that's going to go where we want it, which it should. And we might want to just quick put the plug in, just briefly, so that we get our hose in the right spot. You know what we'll do? Maybe I'll clean this plug real fast. We'll install the plug, so basically, because we're done, we're almost done. Let me go clean this plug up. It's in good shape. And that way we can mount it, and I can put some of the silicone on there. We can plug it in, because we want to make sure we're out of the way of this hose. And it makes it so much easier to get to all this stuff without everything else in our way. All right, we're getting ready to pop the plug in. Now, I'll give you later on, if I haven't made a note already, 5 to 7 on these guys. I find that when I use the stubby and 1/4 inch drive, I pretty much arrive at where I need to be. That's why I often say using stubbies and 1/4 inch drive, these are small engines. It doesn't take much. I have the table for the variation in valve clearance. So there is another table on that. It gives you some plus or minus. So we'll get to that later, or I'll put it, in a pop-out box. But we're very good there. Now, I clean my plugs when they're in good shape. I have a sandblaster plug cleaner. I don't recommend that because people won't clean them. If you have a plug that's in really good shape or that's rare, what you can do is use your cleaner. Yeah. I mean, a wire wheel or a brush will help, but you can use one of these. It's a pneumatic plug cleaner with the sand in it. I try, if it's oily, you got to get the oil off first, so you need some kind of a brush and some solvent, some gum out, and then dry it, and then sandblast it. If it's all jammed up inside, throw the plug out. But if it's in pretty good shape, we can then sandblast it. Then you're going to have to wash it again, and then blow gum out through it, blow high pressure air through it a few times. If you get any sand in there and you don't get it out, you got a problem. So, as I was saying, if you got a bunch of plugs that are really nice and really clean or kind of rare or in a pinch, if you have one of those vibrator tanks, you can go through the process I just said, but then as a last step, chuck it in a vibrator tank for like 5-10 minutes in your favorite solution. Nothing too caustic. And that'll get everything out, and then you can blow it out and install it. So I've already used some type of, generally when I put plugs in, I'm using some kind of no-seeds, but you don't want to overdo it with no-seeds. You can actually jam the plug in there, and you can cause other issues. So just a little bit of that white lithium that I'm using, the tri-plate. And we're going to put it in there. I think it's about 7 nanometers or Newton meters is what it is. So let's just get it in there. Oh, before we do that, hold on. You want to make sure this tip, that's loose. So we want to make sure that tip is good. So we'll tighten that tip up. Right before we're done, it was loose. That's very common. Don't make it finger tight. Just put a little wrench on it. Just a little plier. Okay. All right, so let's give it a torque. Download the manual because it's got everything. They have great manuals on these things. So let's see where we are. Let's give it a tightening. That's it. right? Especially after you've already seated a plug, meaning that gasket plugs like this need to be seated. That gasket needs to be crushed a little bit. It's one of the nice things about a used plug. That's already been done. That's all. Just to check. Let's get this other stuff. So this is just good to do. I mean, obviously for custom machines, people don't really care, but you know, snow blowers or your machines that, you know, you want to get good use out of it. A little bit of this dielectric silicone in there. It's great for rubber boots too. This is a brass insert, so it's actually a brass connection point, which is really nice. That's it, goes on there. And now I can see where I need to put the tube for that. So I'm gonna be right back. Let me put this stuff away and come back. The other thing we want to do too while we're here is a little lubricant. They have adjustments for everything: spring length, chain stretch, spring length here, estimated wear. Get your manual. They'll show you everything. There's also another stop you can put in over here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's missing it. I don't know why. It may not have needed it. I think it's also on the other end. What's on this? They got one on this end. So just wonderful. If you need anything, I'll be right back. All right, now that we got some of that done, now we know what's going on here. Now there are ferrules that go in here, steel ferrules. That one's a little bit dirty in there. So be careful. Don't lose that. Just slide that in a little bit. Now we know where things go. This one up here. Now we can tighten it. Don't tighten that yet. Again, 1/4 inch drive. You can check your torque spec. Now we can tighten this one up here. Lug wire back. Good. We got this guy to put on. So I took the liberty of writing on it again, just going over what I wrote last time. This we already lubricated. So this should just go right on. Those are screws. That one. I think this is the bigger one. Oh, let's find out. And the bigger one. Yeah, the bigger one goes here. Let's plug this back in. Put a little chain wax in there. No rot. No issues. Let's put that on. Our air filter looks good. It's clean. Probably wasn't clean all that long ago. That's on. High, low. Choke on, off. Should probably write on that. That way is choke. I think that way choke is off. I might want to write on that. And I might want to write on this too, down here. All right, because we're not really sure. I think up is on, but I'm not sure. I forget now. See, that's why we need we need stickers or something there. But I can write on that. We'll sort that out. This is high, that's low. So that arrow looks like choke is on. But we could put down here like off or something. So that'll help. We'll do that. Everything else is done. I'm going to go bring it over to the table and dump the oil out of it before we mount it. We'll put fresh oil in it. And then I'm going to work on the pull start. Yeah, that oil looks real good and it feels good too. Yeah, that's good oil. And I don't smell anything bad, but of course we're going to put fresh. But yeah, you know, part of the maintenance program. I'm going to open this up, let it breathe. While I'm doing that pull start, we'll just leave it. Oh, here's a nice cord, fellas. Let's see. Let's take this off. Careful, like. What do we have here? Let's cut you out. All right. What do we got? Gotta get you out. Oh, that's a big knot. All right, we got spin it up. Which way? This way. Here's our hole. And our hole. Let's melt that end. I think it already is, but let's just do it again. Let's use up. See if we got something here. Use these crappy lighters up. That's good. It's 1, 2, 3. That's 4. Oh, I think 5 will do it. That's 5. Can we get 6? Yeah. 6, I think, is a good start. Now, let's see. Can we get this guy in there? I like this one better. This one's safer. Let's see if we can get this guy in there. Come here, yo. Stop fighting me. Oh, that's it. That won't go nowhere. That's real close. Let's see if we can pull a knot in. Oh, where's the handle? What happened to the handle that I had for it? Want to go find a better handle? Yeah. I don't remember what handle I had. Let's get a real handle for it. Instead of like a small one, get like a snowblower handle. Let me see. I got plenty of them. So let's let this pull around a bunch of times since we have this guy. Let's pull it in slow, and so it doesn't bunch up. Let's see where it winds up. We got extra. Oh, is she looking good, fellas? She's still under tension. She's even under tension there. Oh, yeah. Will it go in all the way? Yeah, just about. Will give us a little bit of extra room. Let's go find a nice handle. I'll slip it through if I have to cut it a little bit, but we can always adjust it. These are crap. Find something nice. So these, you kind of get your one finger around it. That's not bad. This was the standard, like Briggs. This is what was on there. I mean, that's not terrible, but that's... How about this one? Right? That's kind of nice. Probably like a John Deere or something. And some more nice cord. Let's get that out. This thing's kind of dirty. And it's got a little cut in the rubber. Maybe we can glue that back down in the future. Let me just wipe this off. I'm gonna... Let's do that. Which one is good? This one? I'll probably cut it, but... You know, one of the key things is you don't want to pull it to the point where you've run out of cord because it stresses the plastic. These are plastic, and you can break the plastic. You can even break the cord. You can screw things up. We'll come back in a little bit. We're going to lube it. That's nice and clean. All right, it feels good. And if I want to tighten up a little bit more, we got plenty of room. Now I got a little bit of chain lube. It's not chain wax. This is more like a gel. They actually call out in here in the assembly, there's a couple places to put grease. This one's in pretty good shape. We got a little bit left. So I'm going to just druze it in. I want to get into where the spring pocket goes, which is not going to be easy, but here's a spot here. I'll mop it up, and we're going to work it through a bunch of times. Oh, it feels good. And I'm going to go mount it, and we got to put oil in. All right, we'll wipe up the excess, and this will gel up. All right, we're ready for a bit of oil. So in this container over here was mostly this, which is the high mileage. And I don't know what's in it, fellas. It's a 1030. I always guess. High mileage, usually they increased the package, the detergent package. We don't want to screw it up too much because you can screw it up. This is a small container. It's a 20 fluid ounce, 591 milliliter. It takes about that much. Most of these engines take about this much. So that was, I put a little bit of the Rotella 1540 in there. 1030, 1040 roughly is what we use, is what it calls out for. So mix that up a little bit with my screwdriver. I put a little bit in there as a white line there, 2 white lines. So I went like about here with the red stuff, with the 1030 Valvoline, and then just a little bit of this. This has got some extra packages in it for diesels and stuff. You want to be careful about adding too much of something like this. You'll have more zinc and calcium in it, which will help these little motors, but you don't want to offset it. Because if you don't get the chemistry right, it gets wrong quick. So just a little bit of extra. It is a little bit of an older motor. We dump this in, and we're gonna go pull the other motor off and put this motor on. Well, that's looking good. So this was just peeling. So I cleaned it, dried it, put a little black RTV on it, put some tape on it, left it overnight. The only thing we need to do now is mount it. And we need to find out exactly what that is. You might want to mark it and what that is. Which way is what. Let's mount it. What I might want to do is we'll drop it on here. I've removed the motor and all of that. It's going to need probably an oil hole, an oil drain hole. Because the motors were originally like mounted back here. And so I did some slotting. And the motor was mounted here, which was too close to this, which caused you a problem with if you needed to take off the pull starter or whatever. Yeah, a lot of these, like, you got to take everything apart just to work on it. Let me see how it lays out.